Good evening. Welcome to the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque's Board of Trustees regular meeting. Conferenced through Zoom, streamed on the village website and Facebook. I am Mayor Donald T. Lopez. The time is 7 p.m. I'm going to read something that I must read at every meeting. To remain in compliance with the state of New Mexico's amended public health order dated December the 2nd, 2020, the updated, the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque is conducting this meeting through Zoom video conferencing and is live streaming on its website and Facebook page, and participants also have the ability to join telephonically. Instructions on how to participate in this meeting have been posted on the village website. At this time, I will call the roll. Trustee Rael.
Here.
Trustee Lewis. Are you muted, Trustee Lewis?
Here.
I see you. Thank you. Trustee Pacheco.
Here.
Trustee Riccabini.
Here.
Thank you. I now move to item 3, approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a second. I'm going to call for the question. I'm going to call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Riccabini.
Yes.
I'm going to move to the public comment period. Item 4. Participants may address the Board of Trustees to comment on issues, problems, or successes on topics that do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. Submitted written comments that were sent to the clerk prior to the meeting will now be read. I understand we don't have any. Is that correct, Danielle?
Good evening, Mayor, Trustees. Yes, that's correct. I have not received any written public comments.
Therefore, participants wishing to speak that registered with the clerk prior will be provided an opportunity. Since there were none, I'm going to ask Kiko to unmute anyone who wants to provide public comment. Is there anyone out there on this call who wants to provide public comment at this time? I'll give you a moment.
There is standby.
Thank you.
Never mind, they put their hand down.
Okay,
They're back, standby.
okay.
Christian Reedy, you can unmute and speak.
Please state your name and address for the record, Christian.
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. My name is Christian Reedy, 8642 Rio Grande here in the village.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I just wished to express my views. I read the recommendations from Planning and Zoning as far as the short-term rentals goes. And I saw that some of it is on your agenda for later today, but not really the open discussion. So I thought I would just take a minute. I think I'm kind of half and half. I believe, it's my feeling that it probably would be an okay situation for the main house of the residents, but not for any outbuildings or certainly not for guest houses. I think that primarily we'll be opening up Pandora's box if we try to do that. We're kind of ground zero. We've had a lot of personal issues going on with the Airbnb situation. Airbnb, as you know, went public back in last month. So clearly it's a corporation. And so clearly anybody utilizing that platform would, in my opinion, be considered commercial use and basically a franchise of the Airbnb corporation. I worry that as time goes on, especially the corporation, needs to provide profit, and their primary concerns will be for profit and not so much the individual neighborhoods that they are impacting. There's a few things I had concern about. As far as impact in the neighborhood, again, it would be a business brought into residential area. The particular situation that we have, the guest house that would be rented would impact 5 residences more directly than it would to the host owner of the house. And we feel that that's just unacceptable. We've spoken out about it in the past, against it in the past. And I'm just worried that if stuff like this starts to happen, that it would be a snowball effect that we couldn't reverse. The village ordinances have guaranteed us in the past, and it was an issue when this house was being built, this guest house, that it could never be rented. This was guaranteed to us by the village, and there are ordinances that protect us. So I think that it's going to be difficult to overcome specific and non-ambiguous language like that to start all of a sudden opening up guest houses as rentals.
So Christian, I think your time is about up.
Okay. All right, well, if that's all I've got, then that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Christian. The policy on short-term rental is not on the agenda tonight. Obviously, there's some confusion by village residents about this. The item that's going to be discussed is just for enforcement, depending upon which way the village goes. So I want to make that clear. Thank you, Christian. Is there anyone else on this meeting who wishes to speak that did not register prior to the meeting? I'll give Kiko a moment to unmute anybody else.
I have no other hands.
Thank you, Kiko. There's nobody else, so I'm going to move to item 5, which is a presentation. Is Katie Duhigg, our senator-elect, I believe she's now the state senator of New Mexico State District 10. Is she on the call or the meeting?
Yes, stand by.
Good evening, Katie.
Evening, Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing great. The floor is yours, Katie. Why don't you tell the governing body and everybody else who's on this Zoom meeting a little bit about yourself and some of the things you hope to accomplish as a state senator. Please go forward.
Great, thank you. Well, yes, I'm Katie Duhigg. I'm the senator-elect for Senate District 10, which includes Los Ranchos. And I'm also an attorney. I do primarily consumer protection and election law. And I used to be, I know your clerk because I used to be the city clerk for the city of Albuquerque and met her in that capacity. And so this will be my first term. This is my first time holding elected office. And I'm very excited to get up to Santa Fe and do some good. A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to chat with Mayor Lopez and hear about the priorities for Los Ranchos. And I think it looks like the financial outlook is a lot more optimistic than it seemed to be just a couple of months ago. So I think we're going to be in a good position to hopefully get some of those priorities funded. Some of the policy things that I'm going to be focusing on during this session really fall into 2 main categories. One is consumer protection issues, and the other is election issues. So some of the stuff the bills that I'm going to be putting forth there's one that will attempt to put some guardrails on medical debt collection for indigent patients. Medical debt is just crippling for a lot of people and a lot of New Mexicans, and especially now in the midst of a pandemic and economic uncertainty. We want to make sure that's not going to be a roadblock for New Mexicans. Medical debt is also one of the main reasons that people declare bankruptcy. And so we're also going to be doing a bill that will expand personal property exemptions in bankruptcy proceedings so that folks declaring bankruptcy can really get the fresh start that they're they're trying to get with that proceeding. We're also going to be doing a student loan bill of rights. Student loans are largely unregulated in New Mexico, especially by private lenders. So we'll give some much needed oversight in that area. And and then there's another one that will deal with financial exploitation of vulnerable adults. So adults who either might have a developmental disability or just dealing with some cognitive issues. Oftentimes, when someone with not the best of intentions gets their hands on their money, that money is just gone. There's no way for us to get that back for them. And so this would allow banks to put a pause on those transactions while an investigation is done to make sure that whatever is happening is legitimate. And then on the election front, I'm doing a bill for open primaries, which would allow voters who are either declined to state or are minor party voters to participate in the major party primary of their choice. It would not allow crossover voting. So Democrats couldn't vote in a Republican primary and Republicans wouldn't be voting in Democrats primary. It would just really focus on the folks who are currently excluded from the primary process and allow them to participate. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. So some of the other election stuff is a little esoteric. I'm happy to go into it if you like, but I know you have a full agenda and I want to respect your time.
So Katie, I really appreciate you taking time to join us this evening. Perhaps the governing body may have a question for you. Does anybody from our Board of Trustees or anybody on this call have a question for Katie? If you do, please say so now. Looks like you did a great job, Katie, in telling people what you want to do. And, you know, obviously this year is going to be a much different year than every year I've ever been involved in because we can't walk into your office in Santa Fe like we used to. But I'm sure that we can call you. So if you will make sure that our village clerk has your phone number and or email address so we can get a hold of you, you know, quickly, that way, that will make things work pretty smooth, I think. Don't you agree, Katie? Absolutely.
No, I'll make sure you have all that information. I'm also going to be doing Zoom office hours. I haven't
Wonderful.
figured out when those are going to be yet, but I'll be putting all this information. My webpage is my name. It's katieduhig.com. It's spelled
Wonderful.
a little funny. Katie is with a Y. Duhig has 2 G's.
Right.
But I'll be posting on there when we're having office hours and all the ways to get a hold of me. And yeah, we're doing everything we can to have as much public participation safely, given all of the constraints of COVID, as we can. So I definitely want to hear from you, and I invite you to contact me. And I think that Trustee Rael, was there something you wanted to ask?
Yes, I do. My understanding is there is a law in the books for New Mexico that there's a limit on class sizes for public school, but it's never been enforced. And I think that's one of the reasons that New Mexico is always doing so bad as far as education for kids. And I think that it should be looked into and perhaps enforced the way it should be, because class sizes have a lot to do with why private schools do so much better than public schools. So I would appreciate if you would at least look into it and hopefully do some good there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I will definitely look into that. We want to do everything we can to help our kids during this very strange time. I have a 7-year-old who's doing school on an iPad, and it's
So Katie, thank you so much for joining us this evening. As I told you at our meeting the other day, I've known your family for a long time. And so welcome to the New Mexico Legislature, and we really look forward to working with you. So thank you and have a good evening, okay?
Thank you. Good to see and meet you all. Have a good one.
Good. Okay, I'm going to move to the consent agenda now. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. 6A is the minutes for the December 9th, 2020 regular meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any revisions? Being none, I'm going to call for the question. I'm going to call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco,
Yes.
Trustee Riccobeni.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 7 is departmental reports. Let's allow each trustee to, comment on this. Let me read this. The departmental reports are included in the packet and reflect activities for the period listed in the individual reports. Some of these reports are year-end reports, which I thought was a really wise addition to them. They present a lot of great information. And so if the governing body has any questions for staff regarding the reports, we will have each trustee ask all of their questions before we move to the next trustee. So Trustee Rael, it's your turn.
Okay, I have one question of you.
Yes,
You recall we had our meeting with the auditors, and there was a question as to some question about the property through the unsers. And I'm wondering if that got resolved, and if it did, how did you resolve it?
I'm going to let Nan Winter answer that question. Nan, are you prepared to at least provide us with a quick summary of what happened and where we are? Please go ahead.
Sure. Mayor, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
What?
Mayor, Trustee Rael. So as you know, we closed out the Unser transaction back in 2019. And that transaction was closed on the basis that it was a real estate transaction. The auditor's findings, however, and their review found that there was also, subsequent to 2005, there was also transfers of personal property, exhibits, if you will, museum exhibits, if you will. That was not a fact known to anyone at Village Hall at the time that we closed the transaction in 2019. So while we resolved the real estate transfer, we did not resolve the transfer of the personal property, also known as exhibits. So there is, I guess the auditor and Ann have worked very closely trying to resolve that issue. It is noted in the report for the time being. I am working with counsel for the Unsers to get bills of sale, transferring that personal property and those exhibits back and forth from the village back to the Unsers. So it will take some crafting, some bill of sale crafting. It may even take somebody to come and take a look at the value of those personal properties or exhibits. But it is an outstanding issue. The Unsers are aware of the issue, and we are working with counsel for the Unsers to resolve that issue.
So Nan and Trustee Rael, I'll add this also. The audit report was submitted on a timely basis, December the 15th, 2020. It was sent to the state auditor. We've not heard back from the state auditor. So until we get that report back from the state auditor, it's really improper for us to discuss the audit report itself. Nan, would that be a proper observation?
As I understand it from the auditors, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Rael.
Well, that's all I wanted to see what happened, because I was kind of hanging when we left the meeting. So thank you.
Sure. Do you have any other comments on any of the other reports?
I have a question of Fred in the public safety report. Are you, Fred?
Yes,
are
sir.
you-
Go ahead, trustee. Yes.
Okay, I was wondering whether, has there been any solution to the concern that the residents around Ortega and 4th Street, they were concerned with so much traffic, and especially now that the has opened there. Has there been any resolution to their concern?
Mayor and trustee Rael, we've conducted, the Council of Governments has conducted a traffic study there, speed study, and reviewed all the crashes for the last, I think, going back to about 2015. We've studied that, and we're going to be working with Bernalillo County to come up with some things going north of Ortega, so that we're all on the same page. And then I've spoken with Maria and the mayor of having our on-call engineers look at that intersection for us and hopefully come up with a design or whatever, some issues temporarily. But we've also looked at, we're putting a speed board, permanent speed board on the north end of Los Ranchos going southbound to try and slow the traffic down, even though the traffic study, to be honest with you, showed that the average speed was well within limits, was about 36 miles an hour, putting up some flashing caution lights at that intersection.
So does that kind of answer your question, Trustee Rael?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Lewis, your turn.
Mayor, Maria Rinaldi had something to say there.
Go ahead, Maria. You're muted.
Mayor, Trustee Rael.
Yes, I can hear you now.
I just wanted to add that Keene has been working with Highway Supply Company to come up with a temporary striping and signage solution for advanced warnings on the site issues at that intersection of 4th and Ortega. So something that could be done quickly in the interim until we have a design for that intersection as part of phase 2 of 4th Street. I just wanted to add that, sir.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Maria. Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is for Ann. Ann, where are we at on the issue of 908 Los Prados?
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Yes, we have learned that the resident who was temporarily renting that home, Andre Segura, and his dogs have vacated the property. It is currently empty.
Okay, thank you. Next question I had, in your report, you referred to a MailChimp list. Can you explain to me what MailChimp is?
Yes, Mayor and Trustee Lewis. In the course of communicating with our business community about the CARES grant, it was kind of cumbersome. We had to work with our database. We had to import and export email addresses, and a lot of the email addresses came back. So not everybody got the information at the same time. And so we sent out an announcement that if people wanted to be communicated with more regularly, there is a service, it's called MailChimp, but it's basically a listserv. It's just an easy way to communicate with the residents and the business community. And since we're starting this economic development initiative, we thought we would let the folks who want to be communicated voluntarily sign up to do so. That way we are not invading anybody's privacy and bugging them unnecessarily.
Great, thank you. My last question for you, Ann, is last month, when Day Hockman B. Hill, our representative, spoke with us, she talked about the capital outlay funds being much less than before and suggested that we pick one smaller project that can easily and be fully funded. Have we made a decision there, or what's your all's feeling there?
Thank you, Mayor and Trustee Lewis. While our three top priorities are 4th Street Phase 2, the Agri-Nature Center, and the road repairs that we've talked about numerously, those are striping El Pueblo, striping Osuna, Green Valley, Ranchitos, Los Ranchos, and Garduño. we, really all of those are priorities. If we were to pick one, Bernalillo County asked if we would want to go in together to support continuation of the 4th Street project. And because Bernalillo County is interested in partnering with us and has chosen the phase of 4th Street from Pueblo Solano to Ortega as part of their capital outlay request, we decided to go in with the county.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Trustee Lewis?
Yes. Let's see here. First, I just wanted to thank Tiffany for her year-end report. I thought it was very informative and it was excellent. Gave a lot of good information. And so Tiffany, thank you very much. Let me see what this one is here. My next question is for Maria. Hi, Maria. We sure learned a lot, and you got a lot of experience on the first phase of 4th Street. As we enter into the contract with Bohannon Houston for the 2nd phase, can you give us a little insight on what we'll do different from the first phase?
Go ahead, Maria.
Certainly, Mayor, Trustee Lewis, can you hear me?
Yes.
So first of all, we're going to do an intensive preliminary engineering phase, which we have received our funding agreement from New Mexico Department of Transportation. We are submitting our task order for their review and for the drawdown of the entirety of the $480,000. And the project scope for that agreement is preliminary engineering to include full right-of-way survey with title research and boundary information, as well as topography, subsurface utility excavation, exploration, and coordination for relocation of all those utilities if necessary. All of the drainage investigations, a preliminary drainage report, engineering alternatives analysis. So based on all of those, including geotech, environmental investigations, with all of those considerations taken in, we will have alternatives to select from and for public participation to make the final determination of what phase 2 will look like within the right-of-way and with the existing conditions. So if I may say it this way, we're starting with a clean slate. We have a general master planning idea for the roadway. And phase 1 came out of that with its intensive design in the high commercial area. But now with the lessons learned, as you so aptly say, we are going into the next design phase with nothing on the board, basically, except the idea that we want pedestrian safety, we want some parking, we want some landscaping, we must of course deal with drainage. But all of those elements will be determined by what the right-of-way is and what we're dealing with underground, overhead, with the P&M poles as well. So we are going to put a full picture together of existing conditions on which the design will be based. So the intensity of the preliminary engineering phase, I think, is going to be completely different than what we saw in phase 1. And so that I think that, and of course, dependent upon funding availability, I mean, that's a big determining factor in what alternatives of design the village can afford, or put together a larger project beyond what is existing for funding to seek additional funding. I know I just said a lot, but did that
That's
answer?
okay, Maria.
That sounds fantastic, Maria. Excellent.
Let me add a comment to that. Maria and Trustee Lewis, we also have hired one of the best engineers in the state of New Mexico. Bohannon Houston has a lot of experience in this area. And from my perspective as a registered professional engineer, also with a lot of experience doing this kind of thing, we will get reliable cost estimates and a reliable estimate of the time that it actually takes to construct this project, whatever the scope may be. So I don't think that we're going to be surprised by a cost overrun of 50% or the time to construct maybe doubling or almost tripling the time that we were originally told. I don't foresee that by any means. So that's my comment on that. Anything else, Trustee Lewis?
That's it. Maria, congratulations. That sounds fantastic.
Okay.
Mayor, could I make a
Go
comment?
ahead, Trustee Rael.
I'd just like to echo what you said about, and I've worked with just about every engineering firm in the state, and they were definitely one of the top ones, so I'm glad that they were selected.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that very much, Trustee Rael. Trustee Pacheco, your turn.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Maria, while we're on the subject of your report, what is the time frame for this preliminary work? Is it going to take all of 2021? What are we looking at, would you say?
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, the one thing that I'm missing to issue the task order with the mayor's signature to Bohannon Houston is they are putting together the schedule for each of the tasks I outlined when I answered Trustee Lewis's question. So as soon as I have that information, and I actually expected it last week. I was in discussion with them yesterday and again today. So I do expect that in the next few days. That schedule, I'm anticipating that it will not exceed 15 months for completion of, and may I also say that this preliminary engineering phase includes 30% design drawings and 30% drainage drawings. So we'll have a lot to work with. I'm certain that in my next report, and actually as soon as I have the task order with the mayor's signature, I'll send out an email to the mayor and to all of you trustees giving you the schedule.
Fantastic. Thank you. Just was curious. I didn't know if it would be a year, 2 years, or what. So it's good to
Sure.
get a time frame on there. Okay. Let's see. And this is more for you. First of all, outstanding news on the Calle de Pajarito action items. It's been a long time coming. I think we're all happy to see that some things are moving forward within that neighborhood, and I'm sure the neighbors are extremely happy that that's moving forward as well. You had mentioned that there is another owner that has been given a 30-day notice. Has that already been given, or it's going to be given?
It was delivered, Mayor and Trustee Pacheco. That letter was sent before Christmas.
Okay, good. So we should have some kind of feedback, hopefully by the next meeting, the way it's looking.
Yes.
All right. And then going back to the MailChimp, and I thank you for the explanation of all that. What's the next step in that process? You've been hearing back, you said, from some of the businesses. What do we do? Is a letter going to be sent out to these folks that are interested? What's kind of the next process in that?
Okay, Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, so we've gotten about 30 people to sign up, which is very exciting. Since we can't bring everybody to Village Hall to have a big meeting and kind of a kickoff, I am just waiting to see how many people sign up. And then through this MailChimp service, we can start delivering messages. One of the things I'm doing tomorrow is meeting with UNM's STC, which is the Science Technology Center. They're located at the Lobo Rainforest Building, and they help entrepreneurs and startup businesses with licensure matters, patents, and things like that. They also are a great resource connecting small businesses to capital, to funders, to mentors. And so we are meeting just to put together a small workshop that we could offer to our business community. So that is just one idea of an offering that we could pitch to our interested businesses and individuals. Another idea is to connect folks who are interested with the creating our AgriFutures process over at the AgriNature Center. There is a table, as you might know, on economic development and agritourism. So it's a perfect connection. We have such a great foundation in agriculture, and we can leverage that to create more economic development opportunities. So it's those kinds of workshops and content that we would like to provide. But I'm open to ideas. Right now, we're just trying to establish the mechanism for communicating with folks who are interested.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see, next for Tiffany. And this goes back to the short-term rentals. Did we set, and I don't remember, and I apologize if you had said this last meeting, but did we set a cutoff time for feedback?
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, trustees. So in the article that was in the Village Vision magazine, we mentioned that we did want to move forward. So ideally, folks would get their comments in by the end of the year, end of 2020. However, the comment period is and has been ongoing. So we are open and would welcome any comment up until the point of adoption of an ordinance.
Okay, good. And did you get more after the article appeared?
Yes, we did.
Good, that's awesome. And I would just like to also congratulate you on such a wonderful year-end summary report. I thought it was awesome. It just kind of tied everything together for the whole year. Kind of gave us more information, a little bit more information on the things that we've been talking about all year. So I just wanted to say thank you for putting together such a solid report. Let's see, and with regard to that, is there a who's making up the subcommittee of the planning and zoning variance review board or review committee? Is that just commissioners?
Trustee Pacheco, Mayor, trustees, yes, that is a subcommittee of the commission. So there are 2 commission members.
Okay. And then just a quick question about the website. I know that you're looking at redoing, that we're looking at redoing the website. Just curious when that'll be launched.
So it's not likely to be soon. So we've discussed with Kiko, and the process can take up to 6 months to redesign, because this won't be a redesign of our existing website. It will be essentially a new website. And I defer to Administrator Simon for any other information on that project.
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, yeah, I mean, I think Tiffany said exactly the status. We are just in the very, very initial process. We've looked at the websites that seem to function effectively. We've looked at other really excellent models, and we're just trying to make sure that for a reasonable cost, we can get everything that we need.
Great, thank you. Fred, for you, with regard to the total numbers for 2020, December 2020, how did it differ much from prior year? Do you know?
Mayor and Trustee Pacheco, I have not got the whole year statistics put together. I can tell you that a lot of the traffic related things are going to be a lot lower based on COVID. From in March and April, law enforcement really reduced the number of traffic stops they were involved in. And then we saw that again in late November and all of December due to the uptick in COVID. But I hope to have for the February meeting a complete breakdown for the year of 2020, and I'll go back into 2019 to see what the difference is. But I can tell you, traffic related, I think you will see a pretty significant drop just based on the COVID issues.
Great, thank you. I think that's all I had on my list, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Pacheco. Tom Riccobene, Trustee Riccobene, it's your turn.
Thank you. Not a whole lot left, actually. I just kind of comment, Mayor, how long have you been mayor now?
I've been mayor 32 months with 36 months to go.
How about that?
And
Okay,
I've been an
well,
elected official 29 years in this village, so I know quite a bit
congratulations.
about this village.
You've got quite a staff behind you, and
Yes.
I just want to thank them, and thank you very much for all you're doing. And is Fergus on the call tonight at all, or?
You know, I haven't seen his
If
name.
he's not, that's okay. I just wanted to tell him a great report of the year. I enjoyed reading through all that, and remind Miss Simon I have a truck, so I'm going to give it to somebody else if you don't want it. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to have that over at the Agri-Nature Center, and so I'd like.
We've been
to
waiting,
arrange
Tom.
to get that down. Excuse me, sir.
We have been waiting.
Good. It's all set. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to be in the paint the truck party. Okay.
Okay. Any comments, Trustee Riccobene?
Yes. I want to thank Tiffany. First year as director, lesson year, and I'll tell you what a year it's been. Great job, and I just want to thank you for your leadership, Tiffany. You've done a great job. Miss Rinaldi, thank you. I don't know what we do without you. Road improvements, building improvements, remodeling. You are one of our great leaders as well, and so I thank you as well. I have no questions at all at this point. All the other trustees covered what I was going to ask, and I just want to thank everybody. That's it.
Well, thank you, Tom Riccobene. Wonderful comments from you, and your praise of our village staff is certainly deserved. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move to item 8, financial business. 8A is the discussion and approval of the cash report. Treasurer Will Fisher, are you on?
Mayor Lopez, trustees, this is Tammy Silva. Will is not able to make it. He's got caught up at work. He got caught up with year end. And so
Okay,
he
will
is
you go
unable-
ahead and give the cash report, Tammy?
Yes, I will do that, Mayor. So Mayor, trustees, for the cash report for the month end of December 31st, 2020, our ending cash balance is $5,717,144.73, which is an increase of $173,019.60, with a year-to-date excess of revenues over expenditures of $538,863.97. And I have gone ahead and just listed a few unusual or significant items. We did have a payment out to Bernalillo County Planning and Zoning for their administrative services and the annual fee for the retention of documents. We also had a payment to our attorney, Stelzner Law Firm, for $27,554.51. And then I also noted 3 little items where you'll see negative amounts in the expense line items in the general fund. This is for the items that were moved with the bar that we approved in December for the CARES Act. So those expenses were moved out of the general fund and into the 299 fund for the CARES Act. So aside from that, I stand for any questions from the board.
Before we get to questions, I do need a motion to approve. Then I'm going to ask for a second, then I'll open it for discussion. I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, let's move into discussion. Does the governing body have questions for Ms. Silva?
I do.
Thank you.
Sandra, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay, thank you. Tammy, on the general fund, the planning and zoning regulation services, that's 17,500. Is that something we pay annually? I see that it's for retention and administrative services, annual fee, and then it shows the check number, but is that something that's paid? I don't recall seeing that before. Is it paid annually?
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, yes, that is correct. That is an annual fee.
Okay, Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, Trustee Lewis, you had a question.
Mine is for Tammy or maybe for Tiffany. On that same page with the planning and zoning, the stormwater team participation, is that an annual fee? Is that paid for the year?
Mayor Trustee Lewis, you're talking about the $6,000 for the stormwater team participation?
Yes.
Yes, that is an annual fee as well, and that's paid once during the year.
Okay. My next question is sort of for Ann. Is Ann still here?
Yes.
Ann, I was just curious, since we're halfway through the budget, it gets confusing. You know, we come to the end of a year, but not to the end of our budget year. Can you tell me any departments have any expectations that are going to be unusual or that they see coming down the road for the second half of the budget?
Mayor and Trustee Lewis, trustees, everything that is on the docket, so to speak, for our staff has been budgeted. If they haven't addressed it in the first 6 months of the year, it was because of COVID, some other things. I know some of the road repairs, we couldn't get any contractors out there because of COVID. And then the temperatures were against us. Now that it's warming up, we're going to try to get out there and take care of some of the road repairs, some of the French drains that we were hoping to get put in the fall. But all of those projects, including the remodel of Village Hall, some of the other things that we had budgeted that we thought we were going to get taken care of the first half of the year will happen this spring. If you want some specific projects, I'm happy to go through them, but it looks like we're on target.
Okay, thank you. My next question is on it's your page 26 of 39 or our page 78 in our packet. Tammy, it's the capital project infrastructure improvements 4th Street.
Okay, yes, Mayor Trustee Lewis.
The negative $17,206. Can you, under revenue, can you explain to me what I'm seeing there? I'm just not understanding.
Yes, Mayor Trustee Lewis, what that is we haven't received anything additional. So that is actually still showing the accrual from the beginning of the year. So we received it in July. It was put into the cash when we received it. And then once we did the accruals, it backed it out into the prior fiscal year. So that's where you're seeing that. Normally you don't see a negative number because we continue to get more revenue in these funds. But we haven't done anything like Administrator Simon said because of COVID and everything. So you're just seeing that negative number because we reverted it into the prior year.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. My last question. No, that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Lewis. Does any of the other governing body members have questions for Tammy Silva? Being none, I'm going to call for the question. I'm going to call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Riccobeni.
Yes.
Cash report is approved. Item B, discussion and approval of resolution 2021-01-02, a budget adjustment request. Tammy, please present that bar.
Mayor, trustees, what I'm presenting now is the bar for the CARES Act fund. This is the second bar you will see, like we had one in the prior month. This is for moving expenses from our general fund into the CARES Act fund under the 299 fund, into the Department 3005 in that fund. And this is for moving expenses that we originally booked in the general fund. We were then reimbursed for them by the state after they approved our expenses. So we are now moving them into the 299 CARES Act fund, as they did reimburse us for those expenses.
Thank you, Tammy. As I did before, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second, then I'll open it for questions and discussion. I need a motion.
A motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
Trustee Rael, who seconded?
I second it.
Okay.
Riccobeni was first.
Okay, so now we move to discussion and questions. Does the governing body have questions about this bar? Okay, being none, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco,
Yes.
Trustee Riccobeni.
Yes.
Thank you. Item C, discussion and approval of resolution 2021-01-03, another budget adjustment request. Administrator Ann Simon, please present this bar.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. This bar is to offer our staff a percentage raise. We are going for a 4% raise. As you may recall, when we developed the budget in April-May timeframe, we didn't know how COVID was going to affect our budget. And so we level funded all personnel costs. We have watched very carefully how revenues have come in over the last 6 months. We have done an extraordinary job tightening our belts. We feel like the staff have been amazingly resilient, productive, responsive to the community, and working under difficult conditions at home, which is not always easy, coming into Village Hall and putting themselves in harm's way when necessary, really fulfilling all of the functions of government without missing a beat. We feel that this staff deserves a 4% raise, and we are hoping that you all agree. We do have excess revenues over expenditures, and I can enumerate some of the savings that we've had. The best news of all is that because of some savings that we have in personnel, 2 positions that were not filled until later in the fiscal year, and 1 maintenance worker position that has remained vacant for the last 5 or 6 pay periods, we have significant savings in our personnel budget. So you would only see an impact of $1,700 this fiscal year. Now, part of that is because we would, this merit raise would hit personnel at their annual anniversary date. So anybody who had an anniversary date in the first 6 months of the fiscal year would see a merit raise immediately, should you all approve it. Anybody who has their anniversary date anytime between January and June, they would see the money hit the budget at that time. So in fact, it's a very small increase for this fiscal year, $1,700. Next fiscal year, however, and we will be looking at this, and I'm sharing all the information with you as we develop the 2022 budget. You will see a $29,000 increase next fiscal year. Hopefully we'll be out of the pandemic by that point, and on our revenue stream will be on the upward trajectory, as we saw Trustee Riccobeni's graphs noting the historical trend of our GRT until the pandemic hit. But we feel that this fiscal year, we can afford this raise, and we hope you agree. And I stand for questions.
Let me do the same thing I did before. I'm going to ask for a motion in a second, then open it for discussion and questions. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
I will second.
Okay, any discussion or questions of Administrator Simon on this?
I do have a question. And will you be, the maintenance position that has been left open, will that one then be filled?
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, we have advertised for that position and we will be hiring that position, yes.
Okay, thank
That
you.
is an entry-level position.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, being none, I'm going to call for the question and call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco,
Yes.
Trustee Riccobeni.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to move to item 9, I'm sorry, which is public hearings, 9A. LL 21-01, a request by the IVT Room LLC, 8834 Street Northwest, Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, for a restaurant beer and wine liquor license with on-premise consumption only with patio service. Application number 1176516, New Mexico Alcohol and Gaming Division. The restaurant is located at 8834 Street Northwest, Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the C1 zone of the 4th Street character area, and is legally known as Lot A, the Magical Tea Land, being a replat of Tract 102A1 MRGCD map number 24, projected section 16, township 11, north, range 3 east, New Mexico principal meridian, town of Alameda Grant, village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, New Mexico, as recorded in the office of the Bernalillo County Clerk on November the 8th, 2019. The property contains 0.5356 acres, more or less. Those speaking will be called upon and will be sworn in individually at their respective time. Ms. Winter, will you please swear in Director Justice?
Tiffany, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Director Tiffany Justice, please present the liquor license request.
Mayor, trustees, this request is for to dispense alcohol with a restaurant beer and wine liquor license with on-premise consumption only with patio service. The surrounding area is primarily commercial C1. The property to the east is zoned residential in unincorporated Bernalillo County. Per section 9.2.12B of our ordinances in the C1 zone, food and alcohol service is a permissive use, and a distance waiver is not required for the proposed licensed premises, as the closest distance to a church or school is beyond 300 feet. In the application, there are no hours listed that would require a conditional use or a variance in the C1 zone. And with that, the department recommends approval of a restaurant beer and wine liquor license with on-premise consumption only with patio service, application number 1176516, New Mexico Alcohol and Gaming Division in the 4th Street character area with the following findings. The property is located in the C1 retail commercial zone of the 4th Street corridor and character area, and alcohol service is a permissive use in the C1 zone. This application is in conformance with the 2035 master plan in the economic development section, and public notice requirements have been met by publication in the Albuquerque Journal and by mail to all neighbors within 300 feet. And I stand for any questions.
Director Justice, we'll get to questions after the applicant speaks, and folks who may be in favor of it or opposed to it get to speak. So at this time, the applicant will now be given the opportunity to speak on the request. Is Amanda Theis on this Zoom meeting call?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Amanda, hold on for a second. Ms. Winter, will you please swear in Ms. Theis?
Ms. Theis, I can't see you, but please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Ms. Theis. Do you have something to say about your application?
Not at this moment. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything. I apologize. I've never done this before.
Well, no, it's up to you. You don't have to say anything unless you really have something that you want to say. Okay,
I think the only thing that was addressed in the public comments was the same thing that's been addressed, and you guys even talked about it today, was the intersection there. That was the concern again from one of the neighbors, which I agree with. I'm scared every day when I leave that intersection, so I understand, and I'm willing to work with the village in whichever way I can to help that move along as well.
okay, thank you, Ms. Theis. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this matter? If so, please use the raise your hand button on the Zoom meeting call.
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. Is there anyone participating in this Zoom meeting call who is opposed that would like to speak?
Again, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the Board of Trustees on this application at this time? Okay, the floor is now closed for comments. I need a motion.
I move approval.
I need a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion at this time? Okay, I'm going to call for the question. Call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
You're muted.
Trustee Lewis. He must not be able to hear us. Trustee Pacheco,
Yes.
Trustee Riccobeni.
Yes.
Let me go back to Trustee Lewis. Is he muted, Kiko? Oh, he's on the phone. So Nan, how do we handle something like this when one of our trustees is?
But can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Okay, then I vote yes. I lost my screen
Okay,
for some reason.
wonderful. That takes care of it. So Amanda, you have your application approved, okay?
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's move to item 10, old business. Discussion only. General information on the service options provided by services that aid in enforcing short-term rental ordinances. Director Tiffany Justice, please present the information.
Mayor, trustees, so I'm going to paraphrase what is listed in this document. So this should provide some general information on the service options that is provided by potential web scraping software services, and this can aid in short-term rental ordinance enforcement. Enforcement is one of the key concerns that we've heard both at the public meetings and in public comments that we've received, and our staff is limited. And so we hope that by outsourcing some aspects of this enforcement, the village can address this issue and assure strong compliance, ideally within the first year of implementation, should there be an ordinance adopting short-term rental regulations. And this way we can see the value of their service initially during the year that we're most likely to need it. And then based on that, we can decide whether or not to continue with the service in subsequent years. So there's a few different things that these companies provide: identification, code enforcement, and tax services. Identification is the primary base service, and that's kind of the key of the web scraping software. So they are able to pinpoint the addresses specifically and whether or not these listings on short-term rental platforms like Airbnb are in your jurisdiction. This makes code enforcement a lot easier because if you've ever used Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms, they give you the vicinity of the rental, not the exact street. So this saves the time of the code enforcement officer having to pinpoint exactly which house could be potentially the rental. And for code enforcement, there are some services that they provide, mostly with automation. And it's mostly automation of notification of non-compliance letters. They also provide 24/7 hotlines and anonymous online reporting for neighbors to report nuisance incidences. In these cases, the caller is prompted to obtain evidence, either photos or videos, and send it to the company, and they will also contact the property owner. If the incident's not addressed in a timely manner, or if the issue is an emergency, law enforcement or emergency services are called. And this allows code enforcement to be prompt outside of normal business hours and make citation for violation, if it's necessary, easier because we have evidence that's collected in the moment. And then another service that these companies do provide is tax collection and some services that help make auditing easier. However, these only pertain to lodger's tax, and since the village doesn't have a lodger's tax, these services are not really relevant for us. In terms of covering costs, address identification and a hotline could provide the village's code enforcement with addresses of property listings to follow up with, and an easy avenue for complaints to be addressed in a timely manner, especially outside of normal business hours. Depending on annual permit fees, the cost of compliance could be close to self-funded through annual permit fees, and each service is a flat fee per rental listings. So in effect, they could pay for the service themselves. And as staff move forward with drafting regulations, we will investigate more companies and their costs before presenting to the board again. And so I stand for any questions. And
So this is a discussion only item, but if the governing body does have a question, please ask Tiffany Justice.
Could I ask one, please?
Go right ahead.
You indicated that the fee would cover most of the cost. Do you have any idea yet what the price of the fee would be?
Trustee Royale, Mayor, trustees, the fees themselves are based on listings, and depending on the service, there's a fee associated with each service. So for example, if the village only got one service, it would be only the price for that one component. Looking at the address identification and a hotline only at this point, based on the companies that we've spoken to, it would be a little bit more than $50 per year, but it would be less than $75. And for reference, our home occupation business license right now is $50.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Pacheco, you raised your hand.
I did. I just have a couple of questions, Tiffany. So you can pick and choose from the services.
Yes. However, you have to have the address identification because that's where they build off of that. You have to know it's in your jurisdiction in order to go from there.
Okay, and is there a time commitment for each of those services? Do you have to have them for like a whole year before you decide that you don't want it again? Or is it kind of at your discretion? If you feel like it's not being utilized, can we forego it?
So this is on a per year basis.
Okay, and is it a license fee? Is there a license fee attached to these as well?
No. So these fees are for the service that the company provides, and which the village could use short-term rental permit fees to help cover the cost of, if we so choose to do so.
Okay, that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question for Tiffany on this?
Tiffany,
Thank you, Tiffany. Okay, item 11 is announcements. There are none.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, one question.
Yes, Trustee
Tiffany?
Riccobeni, go ahead.
Tiffany, what kind of staff time do you think this is going to take? And was that going to be, just in general, do you see a big amount of staff time being taken care of on this? Tracking it and driving out and so on and so forth.
Trustee Riccobeni, Mayor, trustees, I think that the cost of the company would more than cover the cost that a code enforcement officer would have to spend on address identification. As for some of the other components, their values, I guess, less distinct, but just based on looking at listings, and it would have to be done on a daily or at the longest a weekly basis, and that would take a few hours to do so, just to go through all the platforms manually. And then based on that, because we don't have the exact address, we would have to look in the vicinity, especially since some of our jurisdiction boundaries are a bit wonky, especially when going south and east for Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, that any properties that could be listed in those areas, code enforcement would have to go out to each property and verify that this listing is this house.
Okay.
So the advantage of the software is that they use the Bernalillo County assessor data, and they have, I'm assuming, a backdoor into these platforms, and they can tell you what the address is.
Which allows for you to either make a visit or not make a visit, or make what decision you need to make on it.
Yes, if it's non-compliant, then we know that this address is in the village of Los Ranchos, and we have the owner's information. We can send them a letter. We can start communicating with them.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions about this presentation? Thank you, Tiffany. Item 11 is announcements. There are none. Item 12 is new business. Every year we do this. 12A, discussion and approval of resolution number 2021-01-01, establishing the Board of Trustees meetings and public notice requirements as required by the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Chapter 10, Article 15. Village Clerk Danielle Cedillo Molina, please present the resolution.
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. As you know, public bodies are required to determine reasonable notice of public meetings and establish accurate and sufficient procedures for informing the public of the governing body's meetings to include time, place, and date. What you have in front of you is resolution number 2021-01-01, which states these requirements and has been crafted in accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Chapter 10, Article 15. Tonight, I'm asking for your approval to adopt this resolution, and if approved, this will rescind resolution number 2020-1-1. Thank you, and I stand for any questions.
I need a motion, and then I'll ask for a second, then we'll get to discussion. So I do need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Need a
second.
second. Okay. Are there any questions or discussion of our village clerk? Okay, being none, I'm going to call for the question. Call for the roll call vote. Trustee Rael,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee Pacheco,
Yes.
Trustee Riccabini.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 13 is trustee informal discussion. Roundtable discussion is informal. The Board of Trustees will take no official vote or other official action. Trustee Rael,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes, I have one thing tonight. Thank you. In Planning and Zoning Commissioner, or in Tiffany Justice's report, she mentions that the staff provided new commissioner training and an annual commissioner training, which will be done in February and March of 2021 for planning and zoning commissioners. And I would just like to propose that maybe trustees get involved in that. I think we get very involved in being a trustee, but we sort of lose sight of what all planning and zoning is doing and how important it is. And I think it would be good for us to get some refresher in that area. So it's just a suggestion I wanted to make. That's all I have.
thank you, Trustee Lewis. Are there any other questions, Trustee Lewis? Okay, Trustee Pacheco.
I just have a couple of things. I think, first of all, we're all excited to start a new year. The last one was a bit turbulent. We can all agree, I think. I do want to thank you, Mayor, and the staff and my fellow trustees for, we did some great things in a very turbulent year. And I just, again, wanted to extend my gratitude to all of you. I enjoy working with you, and I'm glad we could have gotten that. We did get through the last year for sure. I'd also like to remind my fellow trustees, I think this is a good time for us to pick up the master plan and kind of review it. I think that, it's there, we know it's there, but sometimes we forget what's in there. And I think it's really important for us. I know this coming year is going to be critical in you know, raising our gross receipts taxes and just finding other ways to include revenue into our village. And I think that our master plan has the answers. And I would just like to ask all of you to pick it up and review it again, and let's see if we can, you know, if we can make some of those things happen in a year that I think we'll be able to do that. So I just wanted to share that information.
Thank you, Trustee Pacheco. Any other questions? Thank you. Trustee Riccobeni, your turn.
None at this time. Just let's have a great year, Mayor.
Okay, I just have one item. I wanted to tell the Board of Trustees about this. The last week in December, I got basically a frantic phone call and email from a lady who's a long-term resident in the village. Don't even need to mention her name, but she needed help from our village staff. So Tiffany Justice, Danielle Cedillo Molina, and I were able to do what she needed done. And it saved her $4,600 when she replatted her property at Bernalillo County, just because we were able to literally drop what we were doing and act on the request that we got from a long-term village resident. I don't know that I have ever seen a happier person and a happier note than I got from her. I just feel it was amazing. And I want to tell the governing body that you have a staff here that is second to none. That is the bottom line. So thank you very much. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. It is 8:16 p.m. I need a second.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all and Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thank you.
Year.
New Year. Thank you.